Hi, I'm Jim Noble. In this video, I'll be installing a new CV axle on the passenger side. In a previous video, I installed one on the driver's side. I just want you to see how big a difference it makes on the suspension of a lifted truck. Just take a look at the difference between the build of these two axles. You'll notice on the conventional axle how you have a tripod set bearing. The tripod moves in order to adjust for clearance for your up and down motion of the suspension. See, there's our problem, is when this peaks out, it's actually hitting the inside of that. So these, because they are so thin right here, if you get into a heavy bind, this will bust out. Look at the difference between the side with the new axle and the side with the old axle. You can even hear the drag on it. Look at the inside of that hub and how that axle is moving up and down. Now that's just how much stress it's putting on this inside bearing here. This is the side with the new axle. Now that's got full suspension travel with the new axle. Now look at the movement on this axle. Now the most travel we're going to get out of this the old style axle is right there. That's it. That's all we get. And then it starts hitting the inside of these ridges. Now the new axle is made, this joint is made the same or similar to this joint. What it's doing is it's able to make full movement where this one is already pegged out right there. This one will move that far and still not be in a bind. It'll never be in a bind no more than the front one would be on your turning. If you'll notice, the diameter of this one is much bigger than that one. And what they do, instead of using this portion to take up the distance of the travel of the suspension, it does it inside here. It's got a spline inside it, and then that way it moves this portion, moves the shaft in and out. And that's how we're able to just make a standard CV axle like the outer one. Huge difference. Now if you'll notice on our new axle, we have a dust ring. Our old axle don't. This will hit our hub if we don't remove it, so we'll have to get rid of it before we can install our axle. Now we can install our new axle. Now we'll remove these 6 bolts. Now if you didn't know, the axle is what keeps the bearing together on a 4-wheel drive. GM normally have one full bearing. Aftermarket may have 2 inside races. So if you don't fully torque these, then that'll give you your bearing is separating, the wheel will be loose. Well, the hub actually. So you want to fully torque it. You'll have to check on your vehicle what the exact torque specs is. You see what the torque specs is on mine. All my gun can do. I'm going to take and clean the inside of this axle. That way we get a good mating surface. Now that spacer has a little lip that sits inside here, so it lines up well. Now you see how much resistance that axle has without anything mounted to it. our spacer ring on to make sure it slides in free. And then on our axle, we're going to do the same thing, make sure it'll slide up on the axle free. Now all we got to do is line the bolts up, start them by hand, and we'll be on our way. Now we can torque them to spec. Maybe you can be as lucky as I am and have 2 different size bolts. That's what happens when you have something that's modified, so it's kind of to be expected, especially when people don't really care to start losing bolts. But anyway, that's we got no kind of binding. There, I'm gonna spin that wheel freely. So, well, that's it for this video. I'm James Noble. Thank you for watching.